Welcome to Cosmic Potato, the Super Fan Talk podcast.
Easy peasy lemon squeezy.
We've got you covered with everything from Marvel to Star Wars.
Glad you asked that because I wanted to take this time to explain my evil plan.
Classic films, trivia games, and beyond.
Come out to the coast, we get together, have a few laughs.
Now, on with the show.
Okay, Game of Thrones Season 8. Let's, I guess, go around the table and let's kind of give a quick overall review, and then we'll kind of talk about some of the talking points of the season. Jessica, you watched Game of Thrones since the very beginning?
I have, yes.
Okay. So what did you think of Season 8 overall?
Overall, I would say that it could definitely have been better. Cinematically, great. It did some really great things. It felt rushed. You know, a lot of people feel that way. We got a lot less dialogue than we get. I think there's been, pretty significant downward trend in that, where we've relied on these big epic moments of seeing a dragonfly or somebody being lit on fire, and all that is cool, but it didn't help tie up some things that we all wanted to hear or have explained to us in some way how they've reached the conclusions that they did. And I think the easiest way to have done that would have been to have the characters talk more, which they didn't at all, really. And I don't have a problem with a lot of what happened with, a lot of people had a problem with Arya killing the Night King. I don't have a problem with that. I don't have a problem with Jon Snow going to live up in the real north, as Tormund would say.
Yeah.
I don't have a problem with that. I don't have a problem with Bran being the king. I just feel like we had some plot holes that unfortunately we didn't get filled in, and I don't know if any of you watched the Last Watch, the HBO documentary that they had this week. Yeah, it's worth watching just because it's a reminder of all the effort that was put into it, and that there were thousands of people working on this, and whether or not the writing was up to where it should have been, there were a lot of people trying to make it as good as they could with what they had. And so I'm not one of the sign the petition people.
Yeah.
Because that just seems mean. And that came out before it was even over. So how would you even know to do that? Yeah. That seemed pretty unfair. But I think that they could have, I do think that it was a little disappointing. And I think that we could, oh, my cat, sorry. Hopefully he doesn't do that again. I do think that we kind of deserved a little bit different with the writing, and so that's kind of where I am with it.
Virginia, you just started watching the show in the last month or so, right?
I had watched the first when they originally aired. I had watched up through the middle of season 5, and then I stopped watching at that point, and then caught up with everything since then. Yeah, in the last couple months.
Okay. Well, what did you think of the finale? I mean, the last season.
I really enjoyed parts of it, but the ending wasn't as satisfying as I hoped it would be. And I agree with what some of Jessica said about it being too rushed. And I know they were working from limited material because there's no books to really, build the background or the background of the characters on, or their actions or whatever. But yeah, I still, I just wish some things had been done a little bit differently to answer some of the questions that we probably all have.
Yes.
Okay. What about you, John?
Jessica basically said everything. Completely agree.
I'm not even particularly curious. My feeling on like movies and shows is, you're telling me a story, and if you choose to omit something from this story, and it doesn't really affect the plot, okay, fine. It might be a choice I don't agree with, but I don't really get upset over it. Okay, well, that's all right. It's a missed opportunity, but whatever. Um, I what is that satisfied? I guess I was satisfied with the ending. I was satisfied with the ending. You know, uh, I liked, where the Starks ended up. Um, I like where the kingdom seemed to be. Um, yeah.
It's hard. It's hard. Yeah.
I mean, it's people have just been like shedding over it. It's like, oh, it's the worst. No, it's not that bad. It's okay. The thing.
Yeah, but it's just okay, I think
It's just okay, and that's and that's the curse of being phenomenal for so long. When you drop down to just pretty good, it seems terrible. I mean, if this were the first season, if this were a new show, and this was the first season of that show, people would be like, "Holy shit! Did you see that dragon?"
Yeah.
It'd be great. But the thing is, it's laid all of these tracks. It's built this foundation. It's took all this time to tell this story, and in the final stretch, instead of giving me, a concert, I'm getting, guys playing on the subway. They're great. I couldn't do it. Those guys are great. They got the drums and he's singing and he's on point. He's got the saxophone. He's great. But I thought I was going to see, a performance at the Met.
Yeah.
So I think that's what people are upset. Well, I'm not going to speak for other people because a lot of people are idiots. So a lot of people are upset about stupid things. I and again, like I said, Jessica, it was on point with. I don't have a problem with Arya killing the king. I don't have a problem with. I guess for me, and I said this to my wife when we watched it. For the finale needed. Obviously, we're deep into spoilers. The finale needed Dany to die, and it needed Jon to kill her.
Yes.
And pretty much aside from that, I would have been upset if Tyrion died, but I didn't need him to live. I didn't really care who ended up on the Iron Throne. I mean, for me, and that's maybe why I'm fine with it. It satisfied those two things. If one or the other of those things had gone some other way, it would have felt wrong. As opposed to just maybe being a bad decision, it would have been an incorrect decision, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So as long as they did those two things, it's fine. It's fine. Good.
Listeners, if you hear us giggling every once in a while, it's because Jessica's cat really wants to be on the show.
So annoying.
If you go to our YouTube page, you can see Jessica trying to wrangle her cat while we're talking, and the tail just waving in front of the camera every once in a while.
Yes.
My cat
I didn't.
a
Okay.
podcast a couple weeks ago.
I don't know if I felt like the last season was rushed as much as I felt like a lot of the characters were acting out of character. Like they did things that did not match who they had been for the 7 seasons up to this. Like Tyrion is a really smart guy. So that the Night King raises people from the dead. Why go hide in the crypt? Why would you do that?
Or at least be prepared for it. Right.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? All right, let's try this format. I am going to be the devil's advocate. I'm going to put the positive spin. Whatever you guys got to shoot at me, I'm gonna try to do it. And it's not even that I particularly believe it. I just think it'll be an interesting thing, it'll be an interesting thought experiment. So, Tyrion and the crypt. You know, I could say he didn't think of it because I didn't think of it. Maybe he didn't know that. Maybe nobody knows the rules of the Night King.
I thought of it, and as soon as they said, "Yeah, we're gonna go hide in the crypt," I'm like, "You're gonna go hide in the what?"
Me
Why?
too. I immediately thot that was a bad
Right, maybe it's
idea.
just me. I didn't think of it at all. Because I thought maybe it's only the freshly dead that he can raise. They don't know. But yes, they should have thought of it. But it's their most secure location. So that's what they were thinking. Okay, well that's the safest place. Because if they hadn't been in the crypt, they definitely would have died. Definitely would have died.
That's true. Yeah.
You know, they would have died in the onslaught. The only reason they're alive, frankly, is because they were in that crypt. He didn't raise them until almost the end of the battle.
Yeah.
Right. It
So-
just might have been nice to have a soldier in front of each one of those tombs, you know, ready to.
Yeah, that would have
Have any
made
soldiers to
sense.
spare?
Or it just be surrounded with some kind of dragon glass when as soon as it popped out that it would not be a
Fair enough.
problem anymore. Easy fixes if you're supposed to be as smart as Tyrion was supposed to be.
Supposed to be, yeah. The writers claim that George R.R. Martin told them like 4 years ago how this was all supposed to end, and that they pretty much stuck to that blueprint, which makes me wonder if now that so many fans have come out and not been satisfied by the ending, if that means George R.R. Martin's going to do something else in his books and try to come out smelling like a rose.
See,
I
but
hope so.
You have a lot more to work with when writing to explain the characters' decisions and actions than you
Yeah,
do
that's true,
in,
too.
9 hours of television or whatever we got.
yeah, it doesn't cost
You-
him millions of dollars to change a paragraph,
Mhm.
but like it would cost to reshoot something. And I don't, just given interviews I've seen of him, I don't get the sense that he would do that. He's going to tell the story in a better way, you know.
Well, I believe that outline has been circulated around the internet before, correct?
Probably.
Because it's the one that I have seen has the people that are alive at the end were the same people that were alive on that outline I saw a while back. So I don't know. It was, but it was very bare. Just that these people are going to be alive at the end. This person will be on the Iron Throne. That's pretty much it.
Yeah, and see, and I was fine with Bran being the king because I like you said, John. I didn't really care who wound up on the throne because watching the show, it wasn't even about that to me. Because up until just the last couple of seasons, I was kind of thinking, well, none of them's going to wind up on the throne because everything is going to be destroyed and they're going to destroy themselves. This whole thing is about them destroying themselves. But that's not what happened. But Bran, yeah, I mean, he's as good of a choice as any of the rest of them.
I did not want him to be king. I think that's a terrible
well, he didn't want to be
idea.
king either.
That's the
Why?
point. Like he said a couple episodes, maybe last season or something, where they're like, what do you want to do? And he's like, I don't want. And like, you have to want something good for your people. You have to want to participate in society as a whole instead of just going off to Warg and find the dragon that's going to come back and destroy you.
I didn't.
Well, then be the Secretary of State or whatever.
I didn't take it as I have no emotion. I don't want. I took it as I don't have desire, which has been the poison that all these kings and queens and everybody vying for the throne is because they crave more and more and more, and he doesn't. He is content.
I think the problem with Bran being on the throne was that he has been a very absent character for several episodes now. And we had such a cool storyline with him to begin with. I mean, he was north of the wall for a very long time. He became a three-eyed raven. He can warg, which in the books the other Starks can do, but he is the only Stark that is able to do it in the show. which they did not do at very opportune moments,
Yeah,
showing
yeah.
that ability and then being like, but we don't do this. I can see things, but I'm not going to tell you things. I mean, it was just a very frustrating with how powerful is Bran. I think the character in the book is going to have a lot more magic to him than we got to see. So it's like we started that track and then we started him as like, oh, he is more of, a very selfless, no desires kind of person. We'll start him down this track. And he could have been both, but they didn't meet very well. We don't know who he is in the last season. We don't understand the Three-Eyed Raven. We really don't understand, except for a few things that Sam says about him knowing everything, why the Night King had to kill him. But we don't know really what the Night King was doing either,
Yeah.
So there were a lot of, I think Bran actually was the perfect person to end up on the throne. But we needed more of him in previous episodes, I feel like, to all feel good about that, to just understand him better.
There were definitely a lot of unanswered questions, which I'm not really a big fan of series finales anyway. I know I've kind of talked about this in the last few episodes because you tend to develop a show, and you may develop a show with several teams of writers. One team takes over from another, and they do different things. And then when you get to the end of the show, well, you've got to wrap all this stuff up.
Yeah.
I think one of the worst ideas was for HBO to give the show only 6 episodes for its last season.
Yes, I agree.
I think they probably did that because they wanted to use the same budget, but do it in less episodes so they could have more effects and stuff like that. But I think they should just increase the budget for that last season or something. And I mean, they were going to get the viewers. So
it's the most popular show that's ever been. The viewers. Yeah.
But then like a third of the people that watch it are downloading it illegally anyways.
That's true.
So they're not making any money off of them. But yeah, I mean, the last 3 episodes were longer than an hour, but still, I think that if you had a full 10 episode run for that last season, you would have had a lot more time to tell the story.
Yeah, we would maybe have gotten to actually see Daenerys turn mad, instead of just losing 2 people and then having, I mean, that's a big difference. She burned down a city and murdered thousands of people.
Yeah.
And we had spent several other seasons building her up into something different with maybe a little bit of an anger issue. But that, that was a big leap to make.
Yeah, let's talk about Daenerys for a few minutes because, John, you were about to say something. Go ahead.
I was gonna probably say what she just said and probably what you're about to say. Like they could have done it in 6 episodes, I think. They just did it the wrong way.
They didn't talk.
they could have shown Daenerys could have snapped in those same 6 episodes, but made it slightly more gradual. They could have done it in that same amount of time. Just make some of her decisions a little harsher, make some of her behavior a little more erratic. And at that critical moment, when the bells are ringing and the soldiers have laid down their arms and she's sitting on the dragon, the show could have had her head just straight for the Red Keep and torch it, burn it to the ground. Because at that point you're thinking, okay, well, she wants to destroy the Red Keep. I get it, because that's where Cersei is. And then have kind of the bloodlust take over, and maybe she doesn't really stop. And I mean, not just strafe the city, but be way more destructive than she needs to be. Where she just pummels and maybe she doesn't care if the dragon's killing people. Maybe she doesn't, she's clearly not, if it's not this light switch, if it's more of a dimmer. where she still gets from A to B, but you see more of the steps along the way.
Sorry.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
I I think Daenerys has been telling us like who she is for seasons now. Like, I mean, she's not a great person.
Right.
No.
Let me also say, I don't necessarily have a problem with how they did it, but I think they
Okay,
could have done it better.
gotcha.
Because I've been hearing a lot. I've been listening to a lot of podcasts, and like, this came out of nowhere. No, it didn't come out of nowhere. Like, I get it. And like I said, like I said before, I don't really have a problem. I don't think they did anything wrong because they did the two things I needed them to do. But from a storytelling aspect, I think they could have done it better.
Yeah, she has ever since season 1, she has executed people that get in her way
Yes.
a lot. But it's usually just a person here, a person there.
Or it's
It's
a
not,
person that you want executed anyway.
yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. The problem with this time is that a lot of these people, yes, she saw them as they were opposing her, but they were innocent. They were women, children, people that just lived there. And when you get to that point, something's got to be done. I mean, you can't. She's just as bad as Cersei at that point.
Right. And
You
all of
know.
this is under the auspices of we know Targaryens go crazy. And it is
Yeah.
like everyone thought that she would be the exception to the rule. No, it turns out she's not. So, her going crazy is foreshadowed, from the moment you find out she's a Targaryen and the Targaryens go crazy. Like, so the fact that she seemed like she might have been okay doesn't negate that foundation.
And that sitting on the back of that dragon makes her feel powerful. And she went into King's Landing planning to roast some people.
Yeah.
And when she heard that bell, she's like, oh, darn it. Now I'm not going to get to roast people. I'm going to do it anyway.
Yeah. And the 3 people who maybe could have talked her out of it have, in one way, they, died, rejected her. So she's like,
Mhm.
F you, F you, F you.
Yeah.
There's no you cool.
They
There's no
did.
you cool in this.
Technically, King's Landing didn't really surrender because I think that Jamie's the one that was ringing that bell.
No.
Wasn't it in a different like building?
Yes. He want the way they cut it made it seem like he was going up to ring the bell. He would have rung the bell, I think. But the soldiers surrendered. And they began
Yeah, they threw their
crying.
swords down.
Yeah, they were crying, ring the bell, ring the bell, ring the bell. And Dany heard that. So, somebody rang the bell. I don't think it was Jamie, but the soldiers clearly surrendered before she started, the barbecue.
So John basically has Dany look at the flowers, if you get the Walking Dead reference, and executes her.
Well, I think that was important to happen.
Yeah.
We knew as soon as we found out who John was that they couldn't both live through the end. That seemed fairly obvious. I do think that it could have been something cooler. I like the idea of, the Starks have basically taken over Westeros and the North. And I would have liked the idea of it being something a little more purposeful. Someone had posted a video on Twitter of them editing where actually Bran wargs into Dany for a few minutes and has her burn the city that way.
Oh yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
And then I was thinking that would have been a much cooler way to show that, still we don't know if it's someone good or bad on the Iron Throne. Like, what does it matter, right?
Yeah.
And it could have, if we were going to skip as far as it was to she was going to burn down the city, we could have had something cool like that happen. And I think that there was an element that was missing where how did Bran end up on the throne? I think, especially with his statement at the end was, why do you think I'm here? If he would have been a little more involved in the destruction of the city, and then you don't really think of him as benevolent anymore. He's just a Stark protecting his family in a different way. which I really like that idea because it kind of comes from the books, as the Starks are a very ancient family. They were around before the Wall is, and they've almost been annihilated. And so for them to come back really strong, you know, I mean, the whole show is like kind of premised on winter is coming and the North remembers. And to have that kind of like a revenge thing at the end, I think would have been really great, especially knowing that she probably was going to kill John, you know, had she had really any excuse to kill him, she was going to do it. So having that preemptively happen, I feel like would have been cool.
I haven't read the books, but I would have hated that.
Oh, I would have loved that so
I would have hated.
much.
I would have hated that from the depths of my being.
Did you guys see the meme? Did you guys see the meme where it said that Bran is like the guy on your project team that just sits back and doesn't do anything the whole semester, and then he gets all the credit?
Yes, but in the books and in the show, it would have been so great to have him do more. You know, to have him do those things.
I'm all for him doing more, or even because there's points where he wargs and you don't know what he went to do. I'm like, okay, well, just show us what he did. You don't have to even, you don't even have to explain it necessarily. Just show me where he went. Why would you leave in the midst of the great battle with the Night King? Go Worgen. You're in the birds. You're going somewhere. We don't see where the birds go. Fine. And then you come back because clearly you know when it's time to come back. What'd you do? Those are the stuff like that. I am a fan. I'm a big fan of I'm cool with an overarching storyline, but give me a contained season. If you put it in this season, have a reason for it. Why would he even? What was the point of showing him warg at all? If we don't see what he did, he could have just been sitting there. That would have been fine. Or if he's gonna warg, maybe you go see what they're doing in the ships around the castle. Maybe you go see. Hey, guess what? They've got dragon killing arrows. That'd be good to know. Maybe you warg into a dragon, and then you don't get hit by the arrows. Maybe you do. You warg into the mountain and you go kill. That's what I'm saying. Like, what was the point of showing him warg when you don't really show him warg?
Yeah, I agree.
That's like,
And I feel like that would have explained more if he had been more of a force in bringing Daenerys down. It would have explained why she didn't know Euron was waiting for her to shoot down a dragon, because Bran can go anywhere and see anything.
Yeah.
Why is he not more helpful?
Why did
he is wasting his superpower?
Why did Dany not
military context?
Why did she not realize that it was possible somebody was going to be there with a scorpion? Because they'd already used it once. The Night King had already used it and killed one of her dragons. Obviously, they've got that weaponry, and then she just flies in there. Didn't the Night King just throw a
ice spear?
Yeah, he just used superpowers.
Yeah.
Oh, he didn't shoot it out of the scorpion? Okay.
No.
He just threw it.
They had a scorpion in a previous battle, and I think one of the dragons was wounded. But they just had the one. Yeah, they just had the one, and it was barely effective. So she was cocky and overconfident.
Because in the next episode, they've got 15 of them, and she flies in and destroys all of them. She's ready for them then. Well, you could have kept your second dragon if you if you'd been ready for it the first time, but
Well, you have to attack from a certain angle because they can't really point up very well. They don't maneuver very well. So once you got that knowledge, I'm spinning. Once you got that knowledge, she, you saw she attacks from the sun. She came in at a high angle. Like they don't have any aerial capability at all, and they can't turn the things really quickly. So yeah, if you know where the dragon's coming from and you're all aimed at where the dragon's coming from, you can kill the dragon. But once the dragon knows where you are and you can't move, then you're screwed.
Yeah, and I feel like we didn't get to see a lot of the dragon's intelligence. I mean, we hear, I believe Tyrion says at one point about how they might be smarter than humans. So it's obvious we could have had something where Drogon was, I don't know, just in some ways that was relayed to us in a way that dragons learn quickly, and that he's not going to be, I mean, that he's looking for these things now, you know. I mean it's something that we can, you know, probably assume, but just like the other creature, like the dire wolves and things like that, a lot of it, while we did get to see more of the dragons than the dire wolves, obviously that their magic was suppressed a little bit, I guess, and knowing what their capabilities were.
Yeah, the only indication that Drogon is not just like, you know, a really smart dog was when he burns the throne at the end.
Yeah.
Because, at least to me, because I took that as he understands what this represents and that this is what got his queen killed, his mother killed. And like, you know, so I would have, it didn't necessarily bother me that we didn't see it before then. You know, I guess you could call it kind of almost like a twisty kind of surprise. But it would have been nice, I guess, to have it confirmed one way or the other. I'm fine with an ambiguous ending, but it, you know, unambiguous is nice too.
I had a bigger problem with Jaime Lannister's story arc this season than anybody else.
Now, this one definitely spin. I don't have a problem with it at all.
Me either.
He's a crackhead.
I don't
He's a Cersei
have a problem with it. I had a problem with Euron being so goofy at the end and saying, "I killed Jaime Lannister." You know, that moment. There were a few moments in the final episode where I actually got angry. That was one of them. The other one was when Sam laid out the book. We're calling it A Song of Ice and Fire, and I was like, that I wanted to scream at the TV because I was like, that is the cheesiest, most terrible thing I have seen. I cannot believe you guys.
It would only be worse if he had come in and said, "Look, I'm calling it a Game of Thrones."
I know, it was so bad and unnecessary. So I don't have a problem with what happened to Jaime. I kind of like that he went back to Cersei. I'm a little sad that their death was so, I don't know. In the end, she actually had a pretty nice death. She died with the one person that loved her, no matter what. And I don't know, we were kind of, but she didn't have any lines this season.
Yeah. My problem with
her thing was bothered me more than Jaime's, I guess.
Yeah, she just kind of stood there and looked.
Drank her wine.
Yeah.
Looked out the window. It was just
looked like Maleficent. Yeah. So I guess I just thought Jaime, he was kind of at a turning point and he was kind of turning good. And then just all of a sudden he decides, you know what? Nah, screw it. I'm going back to her.
I'm just not sure that what he did wasn't good. I'm not sure that, I feel like it might have been the kindest thing he thought he could do for someone that he cared about that had no one. It just doesn't seem good to us because we're all like Brienne and it seemed like that was working out. But really, and she writes this in the book, you know, he died protecting his queen or whatever. And I don't know. I don't have a problem with him doing that. I do have a problem with him basically getting on the horse and telling Brienne he was off the way that he was.
Yeah.
That seemed really cold and harsh, which is not what we wanted to see from him. But him going to like protect someone he had loved the majority of his life, even though it's gross. I don't know. I actually kind of liked that he did that.
If you look in that scene when Tyrion goes down into the Red Keep and finds their bodies, you realize that if they had just moved 10 feet over to the right, they would not have been killed. There were no rocks there. I mean, there was a big open space with no rocks. They would have been fine.
I know that was supposed to be a big emotional scene, but honestly, it didn't seem that way to me at all. I didn't feel anything for Tyrion when he was crying over that pile of rubble. So it just was odd to me that he had, I don't know, just like you said, that one part. And so much of the Red Keep was intact at the end. Like their table was there, the book was there. It just seemed super odd.
I figured that was weeks later and they cleaned up a little bit.
Oh.
It's like the building meant to kill them in particular. We're going to kill you. We're going to fall in right here.
Right.
I want to hear Virginia weigh in on the Jamie Lannister thing because I want her to say it before I say it.
Jamie's been irredeemable since day one. He pushed Bran out the window.
Oh, yeah.
Never redeemable. It doesn't matter how nice he is or how good things he does. He's a piece of crap, and he will always be a piece of crap. Even the good things he does doesn't outweigh the bad things. So it was totally in character for him to go back to Cersei and treat Brienne like crap. He may have been extra brutal so that Brienne would be like, screw this guy, I'm gonna forget all about him and never think of him again.
So
but
you think that he was like old Yellering her?
Well, yeah, he really wanted to go back to Cersei, but he didn't want Brienne to pine away for him. If he's extra mean to her, then she's gonna be like, fuck him, I don't care. Sorry.
That's the first time I've ever had to bleep Virginia.
Not the first time I've had to bleep Virginia.
It's been a train song, Bleep Virginia. No, just
Yes.
that was terrible. I'm sorry.
You know, actually, be pretty funny if you played Meet Virginia and you bleeped it every time they said meet. It'd be hilarious.
It would be funny.
So I yeah, I'm totally misread where Virginia was going.
Where did you think I was going?
I don't think that he's irredeemable necessarily. I do think he was old Yellering her, as you say. I do think it's like, I'm a bad boy. You don't want none of this kind of thing. But I don't necessarily think you're like, well, he's trying to do something kind for the person he loved. I don't even think it was that conscious a decision. It's he loves her. He is addicted to Cersei. And just because he was in rehab for a while, and he's got his chip, doesn't mean he's not gonna fall off the wagon when things are like at the worst, at their worst.
The chips are down.
Yeah, nice. Yeah,
Sorry.
So Tyrion tells Jamie, this is how you get into the castle. Go in through here and go through the Red Keep and all that, and you go to the castle and get her and escape with her. And I'm like, if you know a secret way to get in, then why are you storming the gate?
Well, it's easy to sneak two people in and out by gate, and not so easy with 20,000.
You could have snuck a couple of assassins in and taken out the queen.
He was really worried about it at that point.
Yeah,
that's why he was saying like this is going to happen. The city is going to fall tomorrow. I mean, I think he had a pretty good. It didn't really matter.
And he wasn't in charge. Maybe he would have done that, but it was clear that Daenerys wanted to show off her dragon power.
Yeah.
She
wouldn't have been satisfied.
Yeah, the most he could hope for was to rein in how much destruction. But
So let's talk about what happened in that finale. So we already talked about Jon killing Arya. What do you think about
Jon didn't kill Arya?
Jon killed Daenerys. I'm sorry. That would have been bad.
That would have been a riot for real. There would have been many broken TVs.
Nobody can kill Arya. Arya does the killing. She doesn't get killed.
She is the one who knocks.
Yeah, she is. Because I put a meme on Facebook when the episode came out where she killed the Night King, and it had her jumping and coming at the Night King and with her sword, and it said Leroy Jenkins.
Oh my god.
But okay, so what did you guys think about where a lot of those characters ended up, other than Bran? And so Jon gets sent to the wall again, but they sent him to the wall because the Unsullied basically demanded it. It's either he goes to the wall or he's executed. But
and then the Unsullied sail away.
But and the Unsullied are leaving. So it doesn't matter. Let's just just wait just a minute. When they leave, it's fine. We can do whatever.
Yes.
But I
But
think
they
John
send him
kind
there,
of
and
wanted to
then
do that.
yeah,
Like he
And I'm
didn't
sure they
wanna
got
be king.
spies. They got spies.
I think that as far as John leaving, it was if anyone had a hereditary claim to the throne, it really is him, not just because he's Targaryen, but Stark on one side, and the Starks are, they're one of the few nobles left. So it was really symbolic to me to see, he is probably the one with the best claim to the throne all the way around, even more so than Gendry, because he's got it from both sides.
Mhm.
Because now his sister is going to be Queen of the North.
yeah.
But to me, it was more symbolic of, I was like, okay, well, now we have, the biggest claim to the throne now going into a land where there are no kings. And I liked that. I thought that was pretty meaningful as far as what they were trying to do with, they're just a few hop, skips, and jumps away from parliamentary system where they've, they're like England. That's what they're working on. Even though I really did hate that Sam basically brought up, let's have a democracy, and everybody laughed.
Everybody laughed at him. I thought that was hilarious. Actually,
I like that.
I couldn't stand it. It was
Poor
so cheesy,
Sam.
and I couldn't stand when the Tully guy stood up and made.
Edmure.
God, it was just like cringe moments for me. That
Sit
it was
down,
just like we
Uncle.
needed
Sit your
so
ass
much important dialogue there, then we got silly, and so I was disappointed with that. But yeah,
there's really no reason why Sam should still be alive.
No,
he should
Sam?
have. He should have. I mean, he would
Sam
have.
has earned that life.
He would have been killed at the Battle of Winterfell.
See, he should have been down in the crypt protecting people, where he would be
Yeah.
useful, not running around like trying to fight with all these
He fought like everybody else. Why y'all all on Sam? Sam did his job.
He got
Sam
what's
fought
his
and
name killed.
Huh?
He got what's his name killed. The Night's Watch Ed guy.
He didn't get him killed.
Yes.
It was a battle.
he knew he was a weak link, and he probably shouldn't be where he was out.
You know what? I disagree
The
with you guys. I disagree
You
with you.
can be wrong if you want. I'm just
No,
kidding.
He's not the strongest fighter, no, but he has fought and killed the.
Well, that's the same argument that he made, and he
he did kill
And
White
he's
Walker,
right.
but he
He's
did
right.
it accidentally.
This is not okay, but this is not a time where this was straight up an all hands on deck kind of thing. If is he the best fighter? No, but is he a fighter? Yeah.
That's what
Yeah,
I'm saying. He could be in the crypt.
But yeah,
Well,
and he's supposed to be super smart, and he didn't think of that either.
I had a
he
problem
thought of
with
it. He declined.
Yeah, the episode in the Battle of Winterfell, I had a problem with a lot of it because you had a battle that big and only one of your main characters gets killed. Where'd Jessica go?
I think she was walking and she disconnected. So
Hold on, let me try and call her back.
they killed more than one.
Not of the main characters. Theon was the only one that got killed.
Jorah got killed.
Who?
Jorah. Sir Jorah.
Oh, okay.
Oh, Lyanna Mormont, the giant killer. She was a main
Yes.
character, but I love her.
She was
She's
awesome.
great.
Not bad.
Oh, there she is.
Oh man, so sorry.
No, that's okay.
Kid out of bed. I was trying to wrangle, and all nonchalantly. Anyway, it didn't work out very well.
It's fine. Okay. But and also that episode, okay, because
I didn't have an issue with how few main characters were killed because I figured there's still episodes left and there are more characters going to die, which they did. So I mean, whatever. I did like, they got the real fuzzy math with the numbers of
the Unsullied,
the Unsullied,
Yeah.
and the
Dothraki.
Dothraki, like They wiped out half of us. They wiped out all of us. So now we're all back. Like, well, okay, how many are there? You know, you could have done that with soldiers because nobody knows how many soldiers. We don't. Whatever.
Yeah.
The guy in the suit is the guy in the suit, but I know what a Dothraki looks like, and I know what an Unsullied looks like. And if you tell me if I see all the Dothraki right off in the first wave and their lights
Yeah.
go out, okay, that's probably all the Dothraki.
I was
Or
asking that-
most of them, but like when they get back to the city, they got a horde again.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They got
I was
extra.
asking
They got
my husband in the army, like, does this seem like a good plan to run everybody out to play on the horse? You know, because I figured his military, experience would. He was like, no.
I mean,
That was fine.
and that's the kind of stuff that like annoys
It
me.
drives me crazy because it's like, could we not just ask one person with like, some expertise in how, a
Well,
battle.
even they attack on horseback. Oh, that's their thing. Fine. Okay. Is it the best plan? Maybe not, but that's their thing. That's how they fight. Fine.
But don't
just-
separate them so far from the group when
And
you
just-
know. I liked the Battle of Winterfell,
Oh.
except for a few, like, just that crazy thing with the Dothraki charge to me was bad, but I liked it for the most
Well,
part.
and they, I'm okay with it. And again, they were emboldened. They're like, oh, we got magical fire. Like they've never seen that. They don't. They felt confident. And then
If you really needed that fire so bad, then why didn't you start it before you started the battle? Because
they didn't know that. They didn't
it was
know
a
about
big deal. They set up that they needed. I mean, they put fuel in the
trench fire.
trench. Yeah, and then they couldn't get the fire started. I'm like, well, why didn't you start it before?
Because they would have to get close. Like
Maybe
they
they were worried it would burn too quickly.
Then you gotta have Melisandre come in and start it with magic.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I did like, a lot of people have a problem with Arya and the Night King, and I actually really liked it because it still doesn't mean that Jon didn't save everyone. I mean, he ran around advocating for this cause, for seasons that this was going to be a problem. The Night King was coming, and to say that he didn't still save the world basically is ridiculous.
Because he didn't kill that one person.
Because he didn't kill the one person. I mean, it was the one person that you had to kill, but he set up everything in motion so that could actually happen. So, I mean, we had to do something like that with Arya, or her character would have been just as frustrating as anything else, I believe, because she spent all that time training in Bravos. And I'm frustrated a lot as much as with the working with Bran that she didn't in the final season put on somebody's face and trick somebody. Why couldn't you trick somebody with the face? I don't know why. I was hoping that she would kill Grey Worm and wear his face for something.
Wow.
But that didn't happen. Because I mean, we kind of realized that Grey Worm, he's not necessarily a good person. He's loyal to a fault, to the point where he won't also go along with like murdering people. So we have there was an opportunity there to do something like that, and we didn't do it. But it was nice to see that in some way all of her training paid off, because if it would have just been to kill Walder Frey, that would have been not. I mean, I realized that he did the Red Wedding and killed her mother and all that, but still, she could have taken care of all those people with poison and not worn a face. It would have been nice for her to see that actually be very needed at some point at the end, and we didn't get that.
Yeah, there was a lot of speculation that she did it and we just didn't see it or something like that. But it doesn't count if you don't see it.
Because it's a show.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean,
if you don't
even
see it
if
and no one mentions it, then no.
Even if she put on one of the, it would have been cool if she put on one of the White Walkers' faces or something like that.
See, I think that would have been a terrible idea. Because you don't know White Walker rules. That might, maybe it's zombie rules. Maybe you get it on you and you're stuck. You're like, I mean, I didn't even particularly want this, but it would have been cool. I agree. If, I think I heard someone suggest that. And by the way, everybody who's losing their shit because Arya, where'd she come from? Now all of a sudden she can do it. Yes.
She's an assassin.
All of a sudden, after 3 years of training as an assassin, she can kill people. But yeah, nobody saw her coming. No, because she's an assassin.
I'm right there with you.
A girl can kill zombies. Yes,
has assassin magic. She's the thief in your party, and she can do shit you can't do. Get over it.
Yeah, she's amazing.
I forgot where I was going with it. Oh, right. So, yeah, if she had wanted, like, I'd heard a suggestion that, like if Jamie got killed, like she was gonna wear his face and go kill Cersei, or I think the way Cersei died was, again, missed opportunity. It was fine. It was fine. They died together. Fine. Pretty much from the time that Tyrion let him out of the tent, I knew that that's how they were going to die. Fine. Die in each other's arms, killed at the same time. Fine. But it's another one of those times where they could have done something cool with it, but instead they just kind of didn't. They did something that was fine instead of something that was awesome.
I liked the Clegane Bowl that we eventually got to see.
That was a good ending.
That was good.
I didn't like how Qyburn died. I wanted him to die and be killed by the mountain, but he didn't even know it was coming, and it was over with too quick. Like I wanted
I thought that was
little
perfect.
finger moment where he's afraid of what he's done, and he got off way too easy. I mean, his brain was pulp immediately, and that was a little disappointing. But it was nice that Frankenstein was killed by his monster. It's pretty nice.
Yeah. The whole thing with Arya getting that close to Cersei, it seemed a little out of. I know why they did it, because they just needed her to not die right then or something. But it seemed out of character for her to turn around and go back when she's that close. She knew Cersei was at the top of those stairs,
and it wasn't really
she turned around
her
and left.
death to get. Like it wasn't really her. Because Cersei wasn't very involved in Ned Stark's death. She had wanted him pardoned, and Joffrey did that. So it was like her revenge wouldn't have been as sweet as anything, as something. So she definitely shouldn't have. There were a lot more people that should have gone after Cersei that didn't instead of Arya. So I would have been disappointed if it would have been Arya killing her as well. Unless you could have worn somebody's face to do
it. What do you guys think? Okay, so they're claiming that there's spinoffs in the works. So I know now what they're saying is we're developing shows that take place in the same universe. They're not necessarily spinoffs of Game of Thrones because they're not going to involve the same characters. The one that they have greenlit that is coming probably in the next 2 years or so, actually takes place thousands of years before Game of Thrones. And it's going to star Naomi Watts. And all they said about it is it's about a socialite with a hidden secret. So,
my gosh.
So we've got that. And then there's a few that they've kind of pitched out there, but they haven't been greenlit. They don't know if they're going to make them or not. One's called Watchers on the Wall, which that's the working title, and it's obviously it's about the wall,
right.
And then it's they've got possibly one called Fire and Blood, which would be about the Targaryens, like the history of the Targaryens, and then there's one that the working title is The Long Night, which would be about the creation of the White Walkers and where they came from and where the Night King came from and all that kind of stuff. So.
That's the first thing you said that's mildly interesting to me. That one, okay, I might want to see. The rest of them, I do not care.
They're going to have to tell me more about this. The one that they've greenlit, I'm going to have to find out more because I don't want to watch a show about a socialite. I mean, unless her hidden secret is that she's a
vampire.
I was about to say a vampire assassin or something like that.
Of course you were. The only what I want to see after that finale, I want to see Captain Arya pirate queen assassin.
Exactly.
That's pretty much the only. I don't really care what Sansa's doing. I don't really care what Jon is doing. I don't really care what Bran is doing, evidenced by the fact that he's ruling the kingdom. And I put him last. I don't even think of him. No, I want to know what Arya. If they take one story out of this, Arya on the ship to the unknown lands. Like, come on.
Yeah.
That's an anime series waiting to happen right there. That would be awesome.
Bran, I think, is going to be not. I mean, I'm not going to say he's going to be a bad king. He's not going to be a very involved king, because the last thing that we see is they bring him into the room and he says, "Has anybody found Drogon yet?" And no, last we know that he was headed west or something like that. I'll see if I can find him. You guys take care of the rest. So basically, Tyrion's going to run the country.
What was the first meeting? See, I don't
He was
necessarily.
there
think
for
That
10
meeting.
seconds.
True. The first
That
meeting.
was so hard to watch, and I don't understand why Bronn was used the way he was, and then made Master of Coin.
Yeah.
That was one of
He
the
was
most
paid off for not killing Tyrion. That's basically what that was.
But
That's how I
why
read it.
Master of Coin? He didn't know what debt was when the show started. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
Tyrion promised him something. If he didn't, he promised to.
He
He
promised him a high
Double a
garden,
kingdom, basically.
which
Yeah.
High Garden is not there in King's Landing. He could have just gone off and ruled that, being Master of Coin. It seems so bizarre to me. It's just
Tyrion,
like we need to get a goodbye for him, so let's set him at the table. It was,
Yeah.
Do you think that is one of the things that was in the Martin blueprint?
No.
They just decided to do it.
I think they didn't know how to tie up his character at the end. But interesting, he has with Lena Headey, he has a child with her, and they couldn't be filmed together.
Oh, really?
Yes.
I have heard that story. Yeah.
So
Wow.
they cannot be filmed. They could not be on set together. So all of their scenes had to be where they talk about each other, but if they're never in a shot together.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, because I think there's one scene where they actually are talking together, but you don't see them on screen at the same time.
Mm-mm.
And it's yeah, they had a relationship in the past and it did not end well, and they hate each other. So
They're not co-parenting well, I don't feel like.
Oh.
yeah, don't tick off Sarah Connor. I mean, come on. I think a better ending for him would have been if he died protecting Tyrion from somebody. If somebody had attacked Tyrion and he ended up dying protecting him from that.
I didn't want him
After
to
he
die.
came to kill him and then ended up dying protecting him, I think that would have been a better ending for him.
Yeah.
I think that would have been out of character, though. 'cause
Yeah,
he
I wanted him
really
to
cares about-
live.
Well, everybody in the
As-
show was out of character all season.
What is it complaining
No,
about
he's-
everybody
he-
being out of character?
He is cold-blooded and wily, and he's not necessarily going to stab you in the back, but he's going to get his own first.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't see him just laying down his life for it. I mean, you're right. Everyone's been out of character, so I guess him being out of character too. But I mean, there's no way to run a railroad. It's like,
we haven't
they
said
must make him
anything.
suck too.
We haven't
I'm
said anything about
happy
Varys.
Pop off the call, guys. I have got a little one not going to sleep. I'm so
Oh, okay.
sorry.
All right. Well, thank you for joining it. Yeah, we're gonna finish up here in just a couple of minutes. So,
This was fun though. I could go on about it all night.
well, you're welcome to come back if you want to talk about something else.
All right.
One more Game of
Nice
Thrones.
to meet you.
Nice to
All right.
meet you. Bye.
Bye bye.
Thank you.
We didn't. Yeah, we haven't said anything about Varys. I wanted to bring
So-
that up.
In the extra movie they did, like the documentary, they showed one of the table reads and the scene where Dany is sentencing him to death. Man, he looked pissed. He looked.
Oh,
I
really?
don't think he had read it before. He was not happy at all.
Well, it's just the way it happened because he was kind of working with Tyrion. Tyrion kind of stabbed him in the back.
Tyrion
Because-
totally stabbed him in the back.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
But,
which it goes against, which that is totally Tyrion from season 1, 2, and 3. But Tyrion was kind of on an arc to become better,
See, I think you're ascribing good and bad, and it's not really a case of good or bad. It's a case of who are you more loyal to. And Varys is like, I'm loyal to the crown, and anyone, or I'm loyal to the kingdom, and anyone, including the ruler, if they're bad for the kingdom, I'm going to take them down. And Tyrion is like, he basically has not been loyal to anybody, and this is the first time he's found a ruler that he believed in. He is loyal to the crown, and Varys is loyal to the kingdom. And so I don't necessarily think it was out of character. I think obviously it was proven to be the wrong decision, but I don't think it was out of character for him to be for him to put this person above this other person. Even though from Varys's perspective he was, doing it for the kingdom, Tyrion didn't necessarily see it that way. Or rather, he wasn't sure. And so he had to pick a side.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I mean, that all makes it's just I don't know. It's just the whole fact that Jon goes and tells Sansa, "Hey, I'm a Targaryen. Don't tell anybody." And the first thing she does is go and tell Tyrion, which I understand why she did that. Tyrion
playing the Game of Thrones.
Yeah, Tyrion tells Varys. Varys puts things in motion. And then when Dany finds out about it, Tyrion is like, "Oh yeah, Varys, he did it," but he didn't think she was going to execute him.
I really don't think she totally did. He knew he was going to. Of course, she was.
I don't think she because if she had not already executed Tyrion for various things that he had been in trouble for a couple of times, I don't think he thought she was going to go there.
No,
but
he absolutely knew that if he turned Varys in, she would get. They had this whole discussion about she's not the forgiving type. He knew that if he turned Varys in, he would kill Varys. That's why it was a tough decision. And ultimately the wrong decision, which is, sucks for you.
What were you gonna say, Virginia?
During the scene where Jon kills Daenerys, you get like the close-up shot of them, and at first I thought it wasn't clear who had killed who, and I'm thinking, oh, maybe she killed him because he betrayed her by telling Sansa all of this, which leads to all of what we're talking about. But yeah, I figured Varys was gonna die, but I didn't think it would come around like that. I thought it would. I'm not sure what I expected, but I didn't think it would just be straight execution. Although the dragon coming out of the darkness like that was like really cool. Just no dragon, and then it disappears.
Do not want to burn to death.
I didn't like. I was fine with the time skip after Daenerys is killed. But I felt like the scene, it would have been a good scene to see how Jon was captured.
I agree.
Did someone hear the dragon and they burst into the room? Or they saw the dragon flying away and they came into the room and they find Jon over the body? Like, why was Jon not killed immediately?
Well, Drogon carried the body away and flew away. The body wasn't still there.
You're right.
Yeah.
But I'm sure Jon told them what he did because he wouldn't lie about it. That's not him. What happened? Dany's gone. Gone where? Drogon took her. What do you mean? Okay. At some point, he's going to have to say, I killed Queen. And when he does, I mean, I'm sure you could come up with 3 or 4 ways to have him not be killed immediately. I just would like to see one.
Well, you've also got to remember that the army of the North was coming, and the Unsullied were going to need some kind of a bargaining chip to get themselves, because they weren't going to be able to beat all those soldiers. There wasn't that many of them left, so they were going to need a bargaining chip. So they So they kept Jon and Tyrion alive because they didn't know which one would get them a better chance of getting out of it.
I can get all right, good enough. But I would have liked to have seen it. I mean, they kind of. You're right. They did kind of allude to that. Tyrion basically says that.
I like when Arya says, I can't remember the name of the woman that she was talking to. He says, "If you say anything else about killing my brother, I'll slit your throat." That's Arya. Oh, Arya.
Oh yeah.
Pirate Ninja Assassin Captain.
Yeah.